Hello, welcome to this week's live stream. Can you hear me? Line, I see that you are here. Thanks for being here. And today we are talking about, have you ever waited for confidence to show up before you do the hard thing? Let me start this. Okay. And Line says, yes, I've waited for confidence many times before starting to talk to the camera. Yeah, for sure. This is not something that we do all the time, right? Get on and talk to the camera and pretend like we're talking to a friend or pretend that we don't look silly or, what are they going to think, right? Like our brain goes into this mode of, oh my gosh, uh, are you sure this is what you want to do? So that's what we're talking about today. Lene also says, by the way, I'm out camping. Oh, making more content right now, but I brought a router so I can have internet and join this. Oh, thank you. That's awesome. I look forward to seeing the content that you're creating. And yeah, so why does our brain make us doubt ourselves? That's what we're talking about today. And someone commented on, I believe it was the video I talked about where the hard conversation that ended my 17-year marriage, and how I talked about hard things. And someone commented and said, why do we get it backwards, waiting to do the hard thing until we have confidence? It's like we're putting the cart before the horse. And that's exactly what's happening. And the reason for that is because our brain is wired for safety, not for growth. And so it is, we're going to talk more about that. We think, I'll speak up when I feel confident, I'll leave when I'm stronger, I'll start when I'm ready. And the brain doesn't, it's a predicting machine, the brain. And so it predicts when you are thinking about those things, it predicts that it doesn't know what that outcome is. And so it will do everything it can to keep you from taking that step because its job is to keep you safe. Its primary job, your subconscious's mind primary job is to keep you alive. And so that's why we flip it, right? The brain hates uncertainty. So your brain again is wired to predict what will happen next. It's just a predicting machine. It's like the software in your computer. It cannot think on its own. It can't make decisions on its own. It has to predict things. It predicts, equations. It predicts the next word. Right now with AI, when you're typing something, it predicts the next word that you're going to say in the sentence. That's what our brain is. It's a predicting machine. It's not a creating machine. So the brain is wired to predict what will happen next. And doing a hard thing, speaking up when we haven't spoken up for 15 years, like me in my marriage, um, doing something that feels hard, maybe something that we've never done before. Sometimes, though, it's something that we're making hard in our minds. But those hard things feel unpredictable to the brain. And so the brain is like, no way, we're not going there if I can help it. How will they respond, right? That's what you hear yourself saying. Will I look stupid? Like Line said, getting on, talking to the camera. Will this blow up in my face? Will someone, judge me? Will I be rejected? Will I regret it? Right? We think all of those thoughts because that's the brain and the ego trying to keep us safe and keep us in this place where we're not venturing into the unknown. And so then self doubt creeps in. So that unpredictable unpredictability feels unsafe to the brain. So our nervous system then, because the brain and the body are connected, so the nervous system is like it flags it up as a threat, not because it is dangerous, right? Speaking up isn't dangerous, but so it's not because it is dangerous, but because the outcome isn't guaranteed. Again, remember, the brain wants the known, it wants the predictable because that's what it thinks of as safe. So when we don't have a guaranteed outcome, the brain says, let's wait until we feel more certain. And we rename that waiting for certainty as confidence. So when I get that certainty, obviously we're not doing this consciously, right? But when I get that certainty, then I'll take the step. Then I'll take action. But the problem is that proof of that evidence doesn't come in advance. And so we are constantly waiting, saying, I'll wait for the right time. I'll wait for the stars to align. I'll wait till I feel ready, whatever it is. And we're waiting for proof that we won't get hurt, that it won't go, that things won't go south, that it won't steer us, astray. But that proof doesn't come in advance. It only comes with action, with doing the hard thing. And then we start to build evidence in the brain that, oh, when I do these hard things, now I have proof that a lot of times they turn out okay. So again, uncertainty is like a perceived threat to the brain. And that desire for certainty, we mislabel as waiting to be confident. And your brain hates not knowing what's going to happen. So hard things come from these unknown outcomes. When we don't know what the outcome is, the brain views that as hard. And that unknown feels unsafe. And so we stall and call it waiting for confidence. An example for you is I had been married for 17 years. And 2.5 years into the marriage, he had an affair. And I thought we had worked through it. And this is what I talked about in that video, the um the hard conversation that ended my 17-year marriage. So I thought it was because that I was waiting for things to change. I was just waiting, and I think I was waiting for it to feel easier to speak up and tell him that I wasn't happy, that I couldn't do this. But I waited 15 more years after he had an affair to finally find my voice and speak up. And what I said was, if I'm going to feel alone, then I would rather be alone. And that ultimately led to 6 months later, us separating and then getting a divorce. But I thought I was waiting for confidence, but the brain was like, "No, it's not safe to speak up because we don't know what the outcome is going to be. So you're better off just staying quiet and staying with the known. The known is what's safe and predictable." And that's what the brain goes on. That's what it is a predicting machine. So another reason that we don't this whole thing about putting the cart before the horse, waiting for confidence to show up, is we were taught, many of us, that confidence is something that we were given or born with, that it's a personality trait, if you will. Have you ever thought, "Oh, man, I wish I could be as confident as her." Like, it's just the way she is, right? She can speak up. They look bold. They speak clearly. They can set boundaries, right? That was one thing that, being able to say, "No, that doesn't work for me," right, was something that I thought came with confidence. And these people that we think are confident, they don't seem afraid. And we think that that's built into them, but they had to learn it. So, it feels like confidence is either something you have or you don't have. Does anybody relate to that? Like, did you think and I had a client that said, "I'm just not a confident person," and she would say that a lot to me, and that's an identity thing, and again, that goes back to the subconscious mind. Whatever we think we are is what we will be, and it's our job to look into those things if they aren't serving us, if it's not serving you to not be confident, what can you do to retrain your brain to know that confidence is something that you now want to be, that you now are, right? So, confidence isn't something that we either have or don't have. We have to build the reps and we get more confidence, we build more confidence by doing the hard things that create evidence that we can do hard things. So, confidence is simply evidence that your brain has survived something before. So, if we don't do the hard thing, we don't give our brain evidence that it's okay, that it's safe to speak up, that it's safe to say no, that it's safe to do whatever it is that you don't feel confident about doing. Lena says, yes, she relates to that. Um, I'd love for you to put in the chat, if this is something that you thought that confidence is just something some people have and other people don't. It's actually a skill that you develop to have confidence, and it's a way to train your brain by doing the hard things that builds confidence. And the more you do the hard things, the more confident you will feel because the brain now has evidence that doing hard things doesn't have to be unsafe. So no reps, right? Just like building muscles in the gym, not doing reps equals no evidence. So no evidence equals no confidence, right? We have to train our brain that we can do hard things, and with that, we will start to feel more confident. And waiting for confidence really is just another form of self-sacrifice, self-abandonment, because it keeps us small. It keeps you silent. It keeps you playing nice. And I lived this for so many years of my life. I just thought that I wasn't a confident person, that speaking up would get me in trouble, and part of it was, right, we were patterned, we were conditioned to believe this, that speaking up was not a good thing, especially if you're female. Someone commented, and I've brought this up before in other lives, that her dad used to tell her, "You're prettier when you're quiet," right? So she learned that speaking up was not welcome, and so her brain developed this pattern of not don't speak up because it's not safe if you speak up. And another way, the third way that we put the cart before the horse, waiting to do the hard thing until we have confidence, is we try to avoid discomfort. Again, this somewhat goes back to the brain. The brain doesn't want to go into the unknown. It wants predictable, known, the pattern. That's why we create habits, habits that don't even serve us, is but because the brain has to create a habit to conserve energy. Did you know your brain uses, it's only 3 pounds, but it uses 20% of your energy to process decisions and to have thoughts and to keep the body going. 20% of your calories go to your brain. So, in order to conserve energy, because the brain doesn't want to run out of supply, right? It makes you create habits. Anything that you do repetitively, this could be working out, snacking, thoughts, thinking the same thought over and over again, whether it's positive or negative, the subconscious doesn't know the difference between real and imagined. So if you're imagining yourself as not a confident person, your brain says, okay, she thinks she's not a confident person, and it will support you in that. So the third way that we want confidence first before doing the hard thing is because we're trying to avoid discomfort, and doing the hard thing feels bad, right? It feels uncomfortable before it stops feeling uncomfortable. And our body maybe tightens, right? Our breath maybe gets shallow. Our thoughts begin to spiral. Oh my gosh, what if I say this? What if I speak up? What if I tell my husband I'd rather be alone if I'm going to feel lonely? What's going to happen, right? So I put it off for 15 years. Obviously, I didn't feel that way right at the beginning, but over time, that's what transpired is a relationship that was basically roommates and me living as though I was not married. I don't mean that in a way like I went out and did things like I was single. I meant like that I didn't have a partner, that I didn't have that support and that friendship and partnership and all of that. I felt like I was alone in this marriage. So our brain says, "Let's wait until this feels easier." And then it got 15 years down the road and it was like I guess I had a realization that speaking up is never going to feel easier. And so I just sat him down and had what I now call like the State of the Union address with him and just said what was on my mind. I didn't say it meanly. I didn't, point the finger at him. We had a conversation about it. And in my mind, after the conversation, then there was some relief there because there was evidence that I didn't die, right? The sky didn't fall. We were still together, right? I didn't know what the next step was, but or what the outcome was going to be at that point, but there was some relief there from speaking up and knowing that he knew what was on my heart and my mind. And so the brain started getting this clue that okay, I did it once. I can continue to speak up and the world's not going to end. So confidence grows from surviving this uncomfortableness, this fear, this discomfort, this awkwardness, someone being disappointed. I mean, he was really hurt when I said I would rather be alone if I'm going to feel lonely in this marriage. And he said, "You don't mean that." And when I didn't reply, he was like, "Oh, maybe you do." So I know me saying that hurt him. Um, so we start to build confidence when we survive not being liked or surviving imperfection. It didn't come out completely clear and, um, just like now, right? It's awkward to be talking to a camera and not know exactly what words are going to come up next, right? But I'm going to survive this. I'm going to, log off of here in a few minutes and we all will have survived this conversation. So that gives my brain evidence, oh, I can do hard things, and the confidence just continues to build the more we do hard things. The fourth reason that we put the cart before the horse and think that we'll gain confidence, or that once we gain confidence, then I'll do the hard thing, is we have this fear of, I can't. Like, before I went live the first time on YouTube, I'm like, I don't know how to do this. I'm not tech savvy. I don't know how to go live. I don't know how to I don't know how, right? And part of it was physically I didn't know how. But I learned, and then I pressed the go live button, and I didn't die. The world didn't end, the sky didn't fall in, right? And so I've gone live over and over and over again, and I built up the confidence from doing the hard thing. And now I'm excited to go live because I love connecting with you. And that's what comes out of us doing hard things is we live life on our terms. We get to build life on our terms. We get to connect with people in an authentic way. When we don't do hard things because we're waiting for confidence, we actually are not living authentically, right? Because again, we're playing small, we're staying silent, we're playing nice in order to be liked and accepted, and that's not an authentic way to live. So this fear feels like I can't, but fear actually means that this matters, that this is important, right? We don't fear things that don't matter to us. If it doesn't matter to you going live on YouTube, you'll just watch other people's lives or watch other people's videos, right? If that doesn't and it there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying if that's not important to you, you don't fear it. And so we fear things that are important to us. My 17-year marriage, like he was important to me. We had built, you know, 17 years together. And so that mattered to me. It mattered to me to be as kind as I could in what I was going to say. And with that feeling of this matters, fear, yes, can show up. Again, fear just means this matters. It's important. And our body is going to react to that fear. Again, maybe you get teary like me. Even thinking about it this many years later, I've been divorced now from him for 16 years. And it still matters because he's human, right? He was in my life for over 20 years. So this doesn't mean the fear showing up doesn't mean that you're incapable, right, of doing it. It just means that it's important, that it matters to you. And confidence isn't the absence of fear, it's moving forward with the fear anyway. I say, like, a lot of times we let the fear be in the driver's seat. I say, make it sit in the passenger seat or in the back seat, right? Don't let it drive because it will put you in the ditch time and time again. It will talk you out of doing the hard thing every time because, again, the brain relies on keeping you safe. And safety is predictable and the known. If it's not predictable and it's not known to the brain, it feels unsafe. And so the brain will try to stop you. And that's why it's so important that you do if this is a struggle for you, if this is a pattern for you to have self-doubt and then letting that self-doubt stop you from doing whatever the thing is, then start rewiring your brain. Use hypnosis audios. I have a hypnosis audio that I have offered in some of my other videos, and I'll make myself a note and I'll put it in the description. So if you're watching this replay, or after we get off this call, you can grab that hypnosis audio, a meditation audio, if you will. And it's called I Honor My Needs. And it is a way to reprogram your brain to think that you're that confident person that you see in other people, to build your self-esteem, to diminish your self-doubt, to turn off that inner critic or put that inner critic to sleep for a little while so that you can start living life on your terms and the way that you want to live your life versus how you've been programmed or conditioned to live your life based on your past, based on your history. So, confidence comes from action, right? Taking action. When we do the hard thing, we survive it, right? We get evidence that we can do the hard thing, that the sky's not going to fall, that the world's not going to end. And that starts to create an identity shift. It starts to take us away from, I'm not a confident person, which anything you follow, I am. That is what your brain, what you believe to be your identity. So saying, I am not a confident person, I am not confident tells your brain over and over and over. It's a habituated thought that becomes truth to the brain. And remember, the subconscious doesn't know the difference between real and imagined. So if you're telling it, I'm not confident over and over, maybe you heard it as a kid, she's so shy, right? And then that turned into, I'm not confident. Your brain believes that to be true, and all it can do is support you in that thought. It is not going to automatically create a new thought. You have to support it in doing that through this repetition of a new thought. I'm confident. I'm willing to try new things. I am doing hard things. I am a confident person, right? Repeating this repetition, imagining yourself doing the hard thing. Imagination for the subconscious is imagination and repetition are the two key components that will retrain your brain to have it believe what you want it to believe instead of what it was programmed to do. So it's basically like we're downloading new software, the software, we're upgrading the software to the version that we want, Life 2.0, right? Line 2.0, whoever else is watching, right? Substitute your name, Heidi 2.0. Who do you want to be? And if confidence is something that you want to build, then start telling yourself, hi, Lori. Yeah, I'm happy you're here too. So happy to catch you live, she said. Um, so if confidence is something that you're building in your life that you want to embody more of, then start teaching your brain, start reprogramming, start upgrading your software to that Life 2.0 that you want. And through repetition, and it doesn't take that long, 21 days, just kind of like a habit. It can be anywhere where though from a few days to 267, they say, but like 60 days in a row. So a couple of months in a row of telling yourself this on a daily basis, especially right before you go to sleep at night, right when you first wake up in the morning. I'm confident. I feel confident. I embody confidence. I'm willing to do hard things. I'm doing hard things in my life. Keep telling yourself that and the subconscious will be like, "Okay, cool. I'm on board with this." And you will start to feel your confidence build and your self-doubt diminish. So you do the thing, you don't die, your brain updates that file and you start to see yourself differently. You start to build a new identity. A lot of times I talk to people who think that their identity is set in stone, that when they were born with these things written in stone that cannot be erased. And that's just not true. Our identity is not set in stone. We can create that. we can reprogram, recondition ourselves to believe whatever it is that we want to believe about ourselves. I have a new client that I'm working with, and she, without going into much detail, her main belief that we've already uncovered is that she doesn't deserve peace in her life. Now, imagine going through your life with a story like that, a subconscious story that you don't even realize is there. Remember, your subconscious, 95% of your day, every day, without fail, is run by your subconscious. That's why it creates habits, remember? Because it wants to conserve energy. So your thoughts are habits, your behaviors are habits, your beliefs are habits. And our beliefs, most of them were given to us when we were young. So she developed this belief, this story about herself that she doesn't deserve peace in her life. So she is living out this pattern of scrambling after things that can give her temporary peace, that give her this sense of peace, this sense of relief, but they're just temporary because she hasn't repatterned that belief yet, right? And that's what we're working on. So if you're living in a pattern that doesn't serve you in your life, like this pattern for her, she's smoking, she's trying to quit. But again, the smoking, right? A cigarette gives her peace for a moment, right? For a minute or 2 minutes or 5 minutes, but it's temporary, it's fleeting. So if you want to reprogram yourself to have a new belief that is lasting, that is programmed into the recording of your life that's running your life, then that's what I do, that's what I help you with, and we do it over through Zoom. So you don't have to be, in my city where I live, which is Phoenix. You can be anywhere in the world, and we can work together and have a session and see what beliefs are hiding in the blind spot for you. Lene says, I have this limiting belief that I'm not good at talking, especially in English, as it's not my first language, but maybe I should start to say to myself that I'm good at speaking English. Yes, absolutely. Because the more you say, I'm not good at speaking English, and I can tell you, your English is amazing. It's excellent. Um, there is nothing at all that is not good English. Um, Not at all. And I love your accent, so that is just an added benefit. Line lives in Sweden. If you haven't seen her channel and you love adventure, go check out Line Overland. So yeah, the more you tell yourself that, and what I encourage people to do is get out your phone and in your in an app that will record your voice, record you saying, I am I am good at speaking English. My English is excellent. Record yourself like a 1-minute loop of saying some different self-affirming statements like that. Record it and then listen back to it as you're going to sleep. Put it on a loop and listen back to it because your subconscious hears your voice the best. But again, I have that audio that I'll link in the description of this video so you can grab that. And that's like a 15 to 20-minute audio that you can listen to as you go to sleep at night, before you or after you wake up, before you get out of bed in the morning. Those are the two best times, but you can listen any time of the day, preferably not while you're driving. So you should be kind of in a relaxed state and just listen to me take you through this journey on this in this audio. So remember that waiting for confidence is just another form of self-sabotage. It's keeping you in self-doubt. And it's a way really for you to abandon yourself, for you to sacrifice yourself because you end up playing small. It keeps you silent. It keeps you in the nice girl, the good girl mode. And if you want to up level your life, right? If you're trying to create more in your life, that's not going to do it for you, right? So the hard thing is like stepping through that doorway, stepping through into that hard thing, having the conversation, whatever it is, speaking on camera, starting your YouTube channel, getting a new job, leaving a job, leaving a marriage, whatever it is, whatever's the hard thing, maybe just throwing away all the junk food and starting to eat differently feels really hard. Staying off of social media might feel really hard, right? But take what's the next small step that you can take and do one small hard thing. The confidence that you will get after you walk through that doorway is immense. It's like the echo that pushes you through the doorway and makes you see, oh my gosh, the world didn't end. The sky didn't fall, right? I didn't die by doing the hard thing. And the more you do the hard things, the more your confidence builds. It's like it's the evidence, right, for the brain, and the brain needs evidence that doing hard things is okay and is who you want to be, that you don't want to be someone who doesn't do hard things. But the brain, because it was conditioned, it was programmed, it will do its best to keep you there if that's what you believe about yourself. So let's change the belief that you have about yourself, and your brain in a few days, a few weeks will get on board and you will start to feel more confident. I'll tell you one quick story and then we're done here. When I took my hypnosis certification, the confidence that came from just learning more about the subconscious and doing self hypnosis, like putting myself into a state of suspended disbelief. That's all it is, a deep state of relaxation and focused awareness. That's all it is. It's not bad, it's not evil, it's not programming us. No one's getting into my mind and doing something, right? I do self hypnosis. And so when I learned that, when I learned how to basically go into that state where I could visualize myself being more confident, I'm telling you, in just a few days, my confidence skyrocketed just on an everyday basis. So it's amazing. It's amazing. Thank you so much for being here. That's what I have for you today. And I go live every Wednesday at 2:22 Eastern Time. Pretty soon the time is changing in the United States, but it will still be 2:22 Eastern Time. So Line, you may have a different time schedule for a few weeks until your time changes in Europe. Um, but it will be 2:22 Eastern Time, no matter what. KG Brav says, thank you. I appreciate you. Thank you for being here. And I am, as I said last week, I'm starting a membership on YouTube. It's going to be, I'm pushing it out just a couple weeks more, but watch for that if you want special videos, and there's going to be meditation audios in that membership that are just for members only. Watch for that. It's going to be, $6 to $8 a month. And it's a way for you to support my channel in order to allow me to keep creating content like this for you, free content and content that's within the membership. So just keep watching for that. And I appreciate you being here. And I will see you in the next live or in the comment section of one of my videos. All right. Thanks. Have a great day.